Last update: my wife's 36 female best friend 36 female confessed to me 37 male that she and my brother 39 male were bedfellows up until a few weeks before we met. My wife Mary and I are in a relationship since 2011. We got married in 2014. And we have 2 kids, 4 male 1 female. Mary has a best friend Izzy. They told me they have been best friends since elementary. She was my wife's mo at our wedding. And she is the godmother of our son. Anyways, Izzy's brother had a brief relationship with one of Mary's coworkers, and apparently Izzy's brother was a jerk according to my wife because he couldn't handle the coworker being a strong independent woman. Izzy never told me her side of the story about her brother, but their friendship at its lowest point right now. I don't know why did they involve themselves so much in this relationship. And honestly I don't care either. This morning, Izzy texted me by saying she has to tell me about something regarding Mary's past. She told me I am such a good guy and don't deserve any of this. I called her immediately and demanded to know what was that about. Izzy then told me everything. Apparently my older brother James banged my wife before we met. For years, I had no idea that they even knew each other. Izzy told me, James was my wife's one that got away, and even though she wanted a relationship, James never wanted a relationship. And he only wanted to bang Mary and move on. I asked how long did that last exactly? And she told me it was between the years of 2005 and 2010. Mary and I met in one of my cousin's Christmas party in December 2010. Izzy told me Mary only started dating me because I look like James. And I was the consolidation prize. Apparently after I asked for her number, Mary called James and told him that she was going to date me and implored him to never tell me about our story. My brother agreed, because she felt bad for stringing her along for all these years. And he also started dating someone else at that time. It actually checks out, you know. I am thinking back the previous family reunions, and I remember my wife and James always striking up a conversation, and they would always laugh together. I remember James being supportive of our relationship, and he even told me never let this one go. Izzy then told me she's sorry for telling me all these after 2 kids, and she told me she hopes I can forgive her and she considers me as a good friend. I thanked her for honestly and told I also consider her as a friend and we'll talk later. I can't talk about this to anybody right now. My therapist is on vacation. My 2 other siblings and my parents absolutely adore Mary, and they would just tell me to suck it up. Almost all of my friends are also her friends. But I am absolutely fuming inside. If I knew she was my brother's ex, I would never even touch her hand, let alone dating, marrying and having 2 kids together. I don't know what to do. It's been almost a decade. Did I lose this last decade of my life to a relationship with false promises? I don't think she's having an affair with my brother because my brother is a pilot. He lives 6 hours away and he absolutely loves his wife as far as I know. My brother is also biologically my half-brother. Her biomom died in childbirth. And we never enjoyed a close relationship. But I always respected him, you know. He was strong and smart and he always protected me. What should I do? Thanks. Update. Remember me, guys? The guy who learned that his wife and brother used to have ex before he started dating his wife. Well, it's been interesting a couple of days. Let me tell you. I talked to my brother about the truth of him and my wife's past first. My brother did not tell me that much after seeing me all angry over the Zoom. He just told me he did me a huge ducking favor because my ex before me was a loser and everyone in the family hated her. I never knew this, and if I didn't start dating someone else she would have wormed her way back into our family again. I told him, what the hell are you talking about? But he didn't tell anything more substantial. He denied ever being interested in my wife after we started dating and told me to talk to her instead. He closed to Zoom call before I could ask anyone else. My wife texted me soon after, told me she is on her way to talk to me. Apparently James called her, told her what happened. Well, she arrived soon after, and she was crying. I couldn't tell whether it was genuine or whether she was faking it. Her first question was, who told you? Instead of an apology, I told her that's not relevant. And she told me if it's Izzy, do not ducking believe anything she said. She hates me now. I asked her why hates you, and she told me what happened between them. Apparently Izzy's brother assaulted Mary's co-worker in her sleep, and Mary urged the co-worker to report what happened to police. Izzy's brother's ex used this report as a leverage to get the sole custody of their children, and now Izzy's is risking never seeing her nibblings again until they're 18. Izzy and her siblings went to my wife's workplace a couple of days ago to confront the co-worker, but the security escorted them out. Remind you that I did not know 90% of this story because my wife has been staying with her sister since the middle of April, and she didn't tell me this over her phone. When I asked her why didn't you tell me, she told me that she feared I would side with Izzy because I like Izzy's family, I do, and I would get mad at her. I told her if the assault against the co-worker is real, I wouldn't. After we sat down, and she made some coffee, she started to tell me her piece. After we first met, when she learned that I was James' brother, she called James to ask about me. My wife told me it was James' idea too. Hid their relationship because James said I wouldn't date her if I knew their relationship, which is true. My wife told me when she had doubts about me after our 4th or 5th rate. She called James and asked him, how can I break up with your brother without breaking his heart? And it was James that convinced to give me another shot. She never told me she had doubts about me at the beginning of our relationship. I asked her, how did James convince you? And Mary said James told her some silly childhood stories about me and how she'll never find a decent guy like me in this day and age. Well, after these revelations, I asked her if I was her second to her and if she just settled. She said she absolutely started dating me because I look like James, but she stayed with me for who I was. When I asked her why didn't she tell me any of these in the past decade, she told me none of these did not matter and would still not matter if it wasn't for that Izzy. I got very upset after she shamelessly telling me she would rather hide this, but after the started sobbing I tried to calm myself down, and I thankfully did. She was looking very vulnerable and she kept saying I am sorry, and that made me feel even more terrible. After she calmed down a bit, I told her none of what she said placated me, and I still felt like our relationship was always under the shadow of James. She started crying again and told me to forgive her. And she loves our family. She loves me. I asked her for space, and she went back to her sister's house. Kids were there. While she was leaving, she kept saying she loves me, and she'll be back later. She tried to kiss me, but I couldn't. I felt bad because this was the first time in my life I denied her kiss. Anyway, in the next 2 days, every single one of her friends and family called me and insulted me. Her recently postpartum sister told me she knew I never deserved her sister and she'll find the best divorce lawyer. Her new best friend, previously second best, called me and told me I'm a ducking idiot for believing Izzy. She will ruin me. She did not listen when I told her I'm not involved with Izzy. And she told me she hoped I get HIV from Izzy, lol. Mind you that Izzy did not call me once after her initial revelations. James called me again to tell me don't be an idiot, but that just turned into a screaming match because I ducking hate that piece of shit with perfect life. My wife never called me. She texted me by saying she will return Monday morning with the kids, and we could resume our conversation then. I told her I didn't appreciate how I was insulted by everyone she knows, and she told she had to tell something because she was uncontrollably crying. I didn't say anything further. That's it. Now I know my wife's side of story, and I'm actually worse off than the first time I learned what happened from Izzy. I spent these 2 days drinking and playing with my buddies who told me to bang Izzy for revenge, but I will not, and I just feel like a lifeless husk. I wanted to be a pilot like James, but I couldn't pass the physical. I hate my accounting job and I live in a tiny apartment with a wife who would rather be with my successful brother in the first place. I also feel like my wife didn't even tell me anything I didn't know. She just told me I am sorry and cried. I deserved more. Thank you guys for all your recommendations and comments. You guys were really the reason I was that calm while I was speaking to my wife. I hope I will find some salvation from this. Ty again. Update 2. Hello guys. Remember me. If you don't, you can read the previous stuff from my story. Suffice it to say that I filed for divorce. I tried to forgive them. My wife and my brother. I tried to told myself it all happened before I even knew ever. We went to marriage counseling. I went to individual counseling, but no avail. I simply cannot get past the misleading and lies that I was subjected to. The funny thing is that Mary told me she knew this day would come. She told me she didn't think it would be through her formerly best friend Izzy, but she told me she knew she built her marriage based on a lie that she could simply pretend she didn't sleep with her husband's brother for years before she met him. I really tried, guys. I really did. We have a 4-year-old daughter and a fragile 1-year-old son who had to spend a lot of time in NICU when he was born. Are they going to blame me 20 years from now on? Because I couldn't get past this one issue. And now they could get addict to drugs or something because of a broken home. Anyways, wife moved back to her parents' house. Her parents also called me and begged for my forgiveness. They knew about my brother all along. I told them it's not their fault but their daughter's, and I wish them well. We don't have a custody arrangement in place, but I am taking the kids whenever I can. I also asked my brother not to contact me for the next couple of years while I recover. He told me he will oblige my request, but not without adding that I will die alone and I will regret this day in my last breath or something. That's it, folks. Oh, by the day, I did sleep with Izzy 2 days ago. It's all good because I learned my ex has also started sleeping with someone else. Anyways, the hookup with Izzy was really bad. I think she even faked her orgies. She wants to take me to a vacation next month, but I don't think that is a good idea. Anyways, I thank everyone who supported me in the last threads. I wish you guys all the best life in the world. Thanks. Sleeping with Izzy was not a smart move, but geez, your STBX didn't waste any time either. With the brother that you have, you really don't need any enemies. That a whole must really hate you. And now they could get addict to drugs or something because of a broken home. Yes, unfortunately there is literally nothing you can do about it. Your son is going to be like Scarface snorting mountains of cocaine. Your daughter will then end up a streetwalker, likely turning tricks for her drug kingpin brother. They also will likely open a contract with a hitman to have you taken out. Then they will all die when your son finds out his best friend was banging his sister. Sad. Second story. I 35 male deeply regret manipulating my wife F34 into having children. I know it sounds bad and I know we're not supposed to talk like this, but the biggest regret I have is having children. Our lives are ruined because of me and I don't know where to go from here. My wife and I have been together 12 years. Married 6. We have 2 kids, 2 female multiply 2. We had agreed to be child-free very early on, but as we were getting closer to 30, I just became obsessed with the idea of having children. We were engaged and I told her that I would not marry her unless we had at least 1 child. We broke up for a bit but we found our way back to each other and she agreed to 1. She agreed under certain conditions. The main one being that she didn't want to stay home with the child for any more time than it took her to heal. She had an amazing job that she absolutely loved, worked very hard to get and was extremely well paid. I had a job that I also loved but was not well paid. I am in a field where there is a huge income disparity depending on what you do. I got to do what I loved because her job more than compensated financially. We had an amazing life and an amazing relationship. We traveled a lot in our country and internationally. We are both outdoorsy and active people and would take camping, hiking, rock climbing vacations regularly. We had tons of free income, a lot of financial security, and I ducked it all up. My wife ended up pregnant with twins. They ducked up the epidural. They ducked up the C-section and she had an extremely traumatic birth experience. Now almost 2 years down the line, she struggles with chronic pain and extreme postpartum depression. She can't work at all. Not her job and not any other job. She can barely walk more than half an hour at a time without pain, and her mental state means she absolutely shouldn't be responsible for patients. She went from a high-powered position to laying in bed and crying all day. I honestly don't think there's been a day since the birth that she hasn't cried. We haven't been intimate in more than 2 years. My mom moved in with us to help raise the kids and she's old school and doesn't believe in mental health. She's not the nicest to my wife and they're alone all day. There is no one else we can ask and we can't afford other help. She's in therapy. She's on medication. We've seen all the doctors we can see. I went from a low-stress job I love to a higher-paying one I hate. I work 12-plus-hour days and even weekends sometimes and we are still struggling. I miss my old life so much. I miss my work and my friends, and above all, I so desperately miss my wife. Our children are being raised by my mom primarily. I spend as much time as I can with them but I barely know them. I don't know what I was looking for when I wanted kids, but it certainly wasn't this. I don't blame them for anything, but I have a hard time bonding with them. My wife spends most of her time in our room and interacts with them when I am there or during therapy. I don't think we're doing a good job with them. They're well cared for by my mom. Well fed, happy and safe, but I don't think we are as involved as parents should be. I am struggling on seeing a way out. Therapy is helping but the progress is so slow. I don't really know what more to do right now. I feel so much hatred for myself. We had such a good life. It all went down the drain and in the end, my wife is ruined physically and mentally for something she didn't even want in the first place. I am not sure what advice I am asking for. I am not sure what else there is to do here. But if anyone has anything to offer, even nice words, it would be appreciated. All our friends distanced themselves and we literally have no one but each other. Okay, so several things here that are alarming. 1. You need to stop thinking of a way out and start thinking of a way through. You can't get out of this. This is your life and you need to get your SHT together. For your wife and children. Man up. 2. There is no possible way for your wife to get better when she is living with an abuser. You brought an abuser into you and your wife's home. Imagine being in chronic pain and wanting to die every day. And then throw in someone who tells you that you are worthless. You are useless. It's all in your head. You're a failure of a wife and mother. If the previous comments didn't make this clear to you, I hope these words do. If you don't free your wife from your mother's tyranny, she is going to kill herself. 3. Sell everything you've accumulated during the years of excess. When you had big bucks to buy big stuff, you need a 2-bedroom home and 1 cheap vehicle. Move somewhere cheaper and try to find a work from home situation if possible. Liquidate everything. You have an entire lifetime to acquire your stuff back. What you don't have is a redo on what has already happened, so sell what you need to so that you can afford child care and get your monster out of your home. 4. Apologize to your wife. Tell her everything you told us. Man up, bud. It's time to lay your cards on the table and figure your shit out. Take ownership back of your life, your wife and your children. Be the grown-ass man you felt like before those babies were born. Be the father and husband you know you can be by getting your head out of your ass and doing what needs to be done so that your wife can begin to heal. Most of all though, own it. Own your mistakes. Own your past. Own your sorrow. Own your regrets. Be honest with yourself and your wife. And stand up to your mother. Either she treats your wife with the same or more respect than she gives you, or she can get the F out. Either way, she should be leaving. Your wife will never become the person she used to be while being reminded of her handicaps on the daily. Does she even want to stay married to you, or would she rather divorce you and live a life alone seeing the twins part-time? What does she want? What does your wife need now? She is very important here. With just your income alone plus your wife's new disability status, you might qualify for state-supported child care. You are very strong against your wife. Be equally strong against your mom. Give her the same ultimatum. Talk to her firmly and tell her that you won't be her son and she will have no grandkids if she cannot treat your wife kindly. Does your mom know what you have costed her daughter-in-law? Your wife cannot possibly heal with your mom there. Third story. My 26 male girlfriend 27 female of 4 years cheated on me and is begging for forgiveness. What do I do? Throw away account because she knows my real one. Last weekend, my girlfriend's best guy friend came into town just for the weekend. They've been friends since elementary school, but never dated or had anything beyond platonic friendship. They haven't seen each other for over 5 years, and did not have any contact either. I met him Friday afternoon. He came to our home and the three of us talked for a bit. He seemed cool enough, was very respectful and polite, and gave no indication that he was interested in my GF. She was, of course, happy to see him, but her eyes never lingered. She never blushed, and similarly gave no sign of being attracted to him. He asked if she was busy that evening since he wanted to take her out to dinner and just catch up. I was a bit suspicious, but I've always trusted my GF and she assured me the night before he arrived that he's harmless. So I gave her the okay, and they went out. Then she came back at 2 a.m., reeking of alcohol and X, and crying a ducking river. She admitted she got totally wasted, slept with him, and as soon as she realized what happened, cried and left. By this point, none of that shit registered with me, and I didn't hear anything past the I ducked him. I was fuming, and it took every bit of self-restraint I've ever had to not explode. She kept crying, got on her knees, and apologized over and over. She said being drunk wasn't an excuse and that she's willing to do anything to earn my trust back. Problem is, I don't think I want her back. I've never been cheated on before. I view cheaters as subhuman trash that don't deserve any mercy or second chances whatsoever. She knew how strongly I felt about cheating, and she went and did it anyway. And I can't imagine being happy with her anymore, since I'll never forget what she did. I told her that she has to give me access to all of her social media and her phone, which she readily agreed to. I then asked her to cut off all contact with her friend, and she refused. I tried to explain that he had no respect for her relationship, but she said that they've been friends for nearly 2 decades and she's not able to give that up. I was ducking appalled, and I am 99% sure we're through, but I do love her and she's made me a better person. I want to just push all of this behind me and forgive her, but I know that doing so would require me to destroy every last ounce of self-respect I have. Is there anything I can do to salvage this? Too long didn't read. Girlfriend got drunk, had ex with her childhood friend, is begging for forgiveness but is unwilling to cut off contact with him. What should I do? Edit. She's fully dependent on me. I pay the bills. Her financial contribution is extremely minor. Nothing beyond occasionally paying for dinner at a restaurant. I own the house and both cars. She does work, but if she quit, nothing would change financially. There's no way I'll take her back. I've already decided that. I am not sure how to proceed with the breakup, though. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.